Hello students. So this was your quiz, Excel Module 2, Lab 1, and I give you a data file. We'll need to do a little cleanup on that, but let's go ahead and do a solution video for your quiz. So the first one, enter and format the worksheet title. As you can see, I've entered the title in A1 and the subtitle in A2. It says change the theme of the worksheet to the Berlin theme. So we're going to come here to page layout and themes. Let me get off of there. There we go, to themes, and we'll find the Berlin theme. There's our theme, changing our font. Apply the title style to cells A1 and A2. Apply the title style, so A1 and A2. Come back to the Home tab. We'll go to Cell Styles here. Now remember, because my screen is compacted so that I have the directions on the side, that's why we're going to see the difference. So there's the title style. Change the font size in cell A1 to 26 points. So remember, I'm also zooming in. That's why this is starting to look so big on the screen, 26 points. And change the font size of A2 to 18 points. Well, it's already 18 points, so that's in a good shape. Merge and center the worksheet title and subtitle across A through E. So I'm going to left click, hold, and drag through E, and then do the merge and center. And same thing here, A2 through E2, and merge and center. So we're ready to go on to the second part. I'm going to go ahead and make that a little bit smaller. So change the width of column A to 20 points. Well, I just come up here, click on column A, right click. I can choose the width and change that to 20 points. Change the width of columns B through E. So as you can see, I'm kind of running out of room again. I'll make this a little bit smaller. B through E, so I'm highlighting all of those. I'm going to right click and we're going to make those 14 points. So if you notice, they're different sizes right now, as you can tell. That's why I'm not getting a default entry in there. So there's 14 points. There we go, everything's sticking on screen. Change the height of row 3 to 36. So here's the thing, if you notice, this was supposed to be in row 3, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight all this, use my move, and move it up to 3. I'm going to change the height here, row height, and we want that to be 36 points, row height. There we are. And row 14 to 25.5, so row 14. Let me just look at something here real quick. Let's go back to the direction here. Row 13, yep, row 14, just checking that out. Oops, there we are. Let's go back to our directions. Row 14 to 25.5. So I'll highlight, right click, go to row height, 25.5, and hit the enter key. So all those heights are good. It says enter the column titles in row 3 and row titles in range A13 through 16. Well, I already have the row 3. We're going to adjust that one. And then, of course, A13 through A16. So let me go back here to my deal here. So it looks like in 13, I want to have total. In 14, average. In 15, lowest. And in 16, highest. So we have all of those done as well. So the workbook I already gave you had a worksheet with all the data, so I don't need to do that. It says use the following formulas to determine the installment fee in column D. Okay, so we're going to do some stuff in column D, and the current balance in column E for the first customer. So copy the two formulas down through the remaining customers. So the installment fee in cell D4, we're going to say that this equals 1% times the previous balance. So it's going to be a 1% fee on the previous balance, and we put that in. And then for the next one, which I just noticed, probably want those column headings here. What are those column headings? Installment fee and current balance. So I'm going to go installment fee and current balance. Now we'll see if it has me adjust these to double here in just a few minutes. But let's just check if it kept the column width. It did. So those fit width-wise. But we'll make it look exactly like this if it doesn't come to fruition by the end. Let's see. So there's that one, and then current balance in E4. The current balance then is going to equal the previous balance minus payments. So how much was paid? And then plus the installment fee. So we're going to add that back in. Kind of looking like a payment function a little bit, isn't it? So there we are. Determine the totals in row 13. Okay. Let's see. Copy the formulas down through the remaining. So I can just highlight both. And of course, when I copy down, it'll iterate. Okay, if I look at this one here, notice it's referencing, let me double click, that's the best way to do it. It's referencing the numbers from this row, so I know that that is correct. Now from here, we're just looking for totals. So I'm gonna go in equals sum, and I'm looking for the sum of this entire column. Now if I know that's correct, I can then click, come to the fill button, and fill down. So determine the totals in row 13, done that. Determine the average min and max values in cells B14 through B16 for the range B4 through B12. So again, make sure we don't include that total, right? So we'll do that. We'll go equals average. And then here, since it said in our formula there B4 through B12, I can also just type that in. B4 through B12, I get a graphical representation. I'm making sure I'm not including the total. That, of course, would not be a good idea. Do that one. This is going to be equals min. And then this time, I'll go ahead and drag through the values, making sure not to include the total. It's still B4 through B12. And then equals max, which is going to be the highest, right? B4 through B12. So I just did it a few ways, showing you different ways to do it. I'm going to go ahead and then fill this over to the current balance. So we're going to format some numbers now. It says, let me bring this up. Format the numbers as follows. Assign the currency style with a floating $sign to the cells containing numeric data in the ranges B4. So we're going to start with B4 through E4. It's kind of looking like one of our lectures, isn't it? Come down here, currency. There's our currency style. And B13, so we're going to do B13 through E13. So remember, this is a nice way to do it because we're not applying the currency style to all of the rows, which would be hard. We might mistake the $sign for a value. This works well. I happen to prefer the accounting, but this works just as well. And then it says, and B, assign the number style with 2 decimal places and a 1,000 separator, currency with no $sign, to the range B5 through E12. Okay, so a couple ways to do this. One, we can right click, format cells, come in here to currency, okay? And notice this would give us everything we need. We take out the $sign. So we're doing it currency without the $sign. We could also do number and adding in the separator. So many ways to skin the old cat, as it might be. Use conditional formatting to change the formatting to white font on an orange background in any cell in the range D4 through D12 that contains a value greater than 10. So what we're going to do is from here, we're going to go conditional formatting. We're going to create a new rule. We're going to create our own custom rule. Format only cells that contain, and notice it says a value greater than 10. So the cell value greater than 10, and it says we want to format that with white font on an orange background. So I'm going to come in here to font. I'm going to go ahead and choose a white font, and the fill color will be an orange background. Say OK. Say OK. And then anything greater than 10 is going to show up with that conditional formatting. It says change the worksheet header with your name, course number, and other information. Well, if we come down here, notice, let me click here. we're in normal view, page layout view. We're going to add a header, and it says to add a header with your name, course. I don't care if you put just CIS 120, and other information is specified by the instructor. I didn't ask for any. You know, if you put the current date in there, that's the current date format, that might be pretty cool as well. Okay, so there we are. It says use the spell checker to check the spelling of the worksheet. Well, I'm going to go back to normal here. And then from there, simply go to the review tab, spelling. So we're looking for spellings. We're going to assume that this is correct. So I'm going to ignore once. Someone else's name, ignore. Check from the beginning, yes. So these are all names. I can just ignore them. Spelling seems to be correct. Worksheet in landscape preview, and then print the worksheet in landscape. Well, we're not going to print it, right? For sure, you're going to turn it in. So I could come up to page layout, however, go to orientation and change this to landscape view. Okay, that way when I do look at a print preview, it would be in the landscape view. So if I come up here, come to print, notice it's in the landscape view, okay? In the landscape orientation. Now, from here, just sort of a little extra, I'm going to go into page setup to, actually not to sheet, let me find that, margins. I'm going to center on page horizontally and vertically. Now, this was not part of the assignment, but if you notice, it just looks a little bit better, centered, aligned on the sheet. We could add the grid lines if we wanted to, you know, through page setup as well. So other things, you know, to look at in the way of sheet, grid lines. Let's take a look at what that looks like. There we are. And when we printed that, it would look great. All right, there's your solution video. Take care.